Have you ever heard of a moment so profound it completely changes the course of your life? A single night that redefines your purpose. That's exactly what happened to a young woman named Ida Scudder, and her story is one of incredible courage, compassion, and a legacy that has saved millions of lives. It all starts in the late 19th century. Ida Scudder was born in India to American medical missionaries, but interestingly, she had no desire to follow in their footsteps. She saw the hardship, the poverty, and the constant struggle of her parents' lives and thought, that's not for me. She dreamed of a comfortable life back in America, of getting married and settling down far away from the heat and dust of southern India. So she went back to the States for her education, fully intending to stay there. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. In 1890, Ida returned to India, not to work, but simply to help her ailing mother. She was counting down the days until she could go back to her life in America, and then came the night that changed everything. One evening, as she sat reading in her family's home in the town of Vellore, a man appeared at her door desperate. His young wife, a mere child, was in agonizing labor, and her life was hanging by a thread. He begged Ida to come and help. Ida was stunned. She explained she wasn't a doctor. She had no medical training. The only person who could help was her father, a qualified physician, but the man shook his head. Because of strict cultural and religious customs, known as purdah, his wife could not be seen, let alone treated, by any man outside her immediate family. It was a woman doctor or no one. Ida pleaded with him, but he was resolute. He left his face etched with despair. Just an hour or so later, a second knock. This time it was another man from a nearby village. His story was tragically identical. His wife was dying in childbirth, and he needed a female doctor. Again, Ida offered her father's help, and again, the offer was refused for the same cultural reasons. He, too, left in sorrow. The night grew darker, and Ida's heart grew heavier. Incredibly, a third knock echoed through the house. It was another man with the exact same plea. His wife was in peril, and only a woman could help. For a third time, Ida had to explain her lack of training. And for a third time, a husband walked away into the night, knowing his wife's fate was sealed. Ida couldn't sleep. The weight of those three encounters pressed down on her. She paced the floor all night, haunted by the faces of those desperate men and the thought of the young women they represented. The next morning, her worst fears were confirmed. She heard the mournful sounds of funeral drums from three different directions. All three women had died, 3 families shattered, 3 lives lost, simply because there wasn't a single female doctor available. In that moment of profound grief and clarity, Ida Scudder heard a calling. It was as if a voice was speaking directly to her heart. She knew what she had to do. She wasn't going back to America to live a comfortable life. She was going back to become a doctor. And she would dedicate her life to serving the women of India. She announced her decision to her parents, who were overjoyed. She returned to the United States and in 1895 enrolled at Cornell University's new medical college in New York City, which was one of the few institutions that accepted women. It wasn't easy. She was often one of only a handful of women in a sea of men, but her resolve was unbreakable, fueled by the memory of that fateful night. She graduated in the first ever class of the college in 1899, and by 1900 she was on a ship sailing back to India as Dr. Ida Scudder. When she returned to Vellore, her mission began. At first, her clinic was just a single room in her parents' bungalow. Word spread like wildfire. Women who had previously suffered and died in silence began flocking to her. They came on foot, in bullock carts, carried for miles, all seeking the compassionate care of Auntie Ida, as she affectionately became known. The demand was overwhelming. In her first 2 years, she treated over 5,000 patients. She quickly realized that a one-room clinic wasn't enough. She needed a real hospital. But how? Could she afford it? With unwavering faith, she wrote letters back to supporters in America. One person, a man named Mr. Schell, was so moved by her story that he donated $10,000 to build a hospital in memory of his late wife. In 1902, the 40-bed Mary Tabor Schell Memorial Hospital opened its doors. It was built specifically to serve women and children, but Ida's vision was even bigger. Treating patients was crucial, but what India truly needed was more female doctors, more nurses, more trained medical professionals who understood the local culture. A hospital could only do so much. An army of caregivers could transform a nation. So she embarked on her most ambitious project yet, starting a medical school exclusively for women. Everyone told her it was impossible. The government, other missionaries, even her own colleagues said it couldn't be done. Where would she find qualified female students in a society that didn't prioritize women's education? How would she fund such a massive undertaking? The challenges were immense. She needed to raise a huge amount of money by a specific deadline set by the government, or the whole project would be shut down. With the deadline looming and only a fraction of the funds raised, it looked like her dream was about to fail. On the very last day, Ida received a telegram. An anonymous donor, who had read an article about her work, had gifted the exact amount of money she needed. It was a miracle. In 1918, the Missionary Medical College for Women opened with 14 students. This small school would eventually grow into the world-renowned Christian Medical College and Hospital, or CMC, Vellore. Today, CMC is one of the top-ranked medical institutions in all of India. It's a massive, sprawling campus with thousands of beds, treating over 2 million patients a year. It's a hub of innovation, research, and compassionate care, training thousands of doctors and nurses, both men and women, who go on to serve all over the world. Ida Scudder worked tirelessly until she was well into her 80s. She delivered babies, performed surgeries, and inspired generations. Her method was simple. She never just treated the illness. She treated the person. She believed in holistic care, caring for the body, mind, and spirit. She would often say, "The field is the world, but my corner of the field is Vellore." She passed away in 1960 at the age of 89, in the very town she had dedicated her life to. But her legacy is not just in the bricks and mortar of the hospital she built. It's in the millions of lives that have been saved. It's in the thousands of medical professionals she trained. It's in the cultural barriers that were broken down, proving that compassion and dedication can overcome any obstacle. The story of Ida Scudder is a powerful reminder that one person, driven by a clear purpose, can truly change the world. It all started with 3 knocks on a door one tragic night, a night that took 3 lives, but in turn sparked a movement that would save millions. Thanks for watching. If you were inspired by this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content about incredible people who made a difference. See you next time.